Hi, and thank you for tuning in to another Techstination interview. I'm Fred Fishkin. If you watched the Super Bowl, you saw an awful lot of TurboTax. And joining us is Lisa Greene-Lewis, TurboTax CPA and tax expert. Thanks for joining us, Lisa.
Thank you for having me.
Well, first of all, congratulations on you guys own the Super Bowl almost as much as Tom Brady.
Thank you. That was fun.
Well, so much upheaval caused by the pandemic in 2020, jobs, unemployment, living situations. So much has changed for so many people. So I'm thinking that a lot more people are going to be needing help with their tax returns this year. Is that pretty accurate assessment?
Yes, I mean, I think the events that happened in 2020 impacted people's lives in one way or another, whether they were unemployed, working virtually. And we did even see in 2020 our TurboTax Live increase, the usage of TurboTax Live increased 70% last tax season. So in 2020, because more people were at home and were set up for, you being at home and getting help from a tax expert, as well as now we have our full service where you can fully hand over your taxes to a tax expert without
Uh,
leaving home.
Well, that's a big thing because today people, while they want to work with their accountants or TurboTax, they don't necessarily want an in-person kind of visit now. Still,
Yes, yes. And with the TurboTax Live, you have the option. You can either talk to the tax expert via one-way video, or you can chat with them. You can email with them. So it's whatever you choose.
so tell us about some of the issues that the pandemic has sort of created here for people that they need to navigate through because there's a whole lot that's different.
Yeah. So one of the big things, over 40 million people were unemployed. And so people really needed that money, and it was voluntary to have money withheld from your unemployment, but it is taxable. That was one of the big questions that we see, is whether or not that income is taxable. So people may see a little surprise this tax season if they didn't take taxes out. But on the other hand, too, they should be aware that they may have had lower income, so they may be eligible for some of those income-based credits and deductions that they did not get before, like earned income tax credit. That's a huge credit. For a family of three, it's $6,660. Well, up to that amount in credit. The savers credit, that's a little known credit that you just get just for contributing to your retirement, but it is income based. So some of those, you may be surprised to find that you'll be able to get those.
And what about the stimulus checks that so
Yes.
many people have received? Almost everybody, it seems, or a lot, depending on your income
Mhm.
level. So tell us about that. Is there any impact whatsoever on our taxes?
Yeah, so that's another big question we're seeing. So stimulus payments are not taxable. That's one thing for people to know. And then if they were overpaid based on their income, they don't have to pay it back. But one thing to know, if you didn't receive the full amount of stimulus and you're eligible for more based on your 2020 income when you file, you may get more stimulus in the form of a recovery rebate credit. So when you file, you will be able to get some of this credit. Or let's say you didn't get all of the stimulus for your dependents, or we're seeing people that had a baby in 2020. There's no way the IRS knew that you had a baby when they issued the stimulus. So you'll be able to get that stimulus in the form of a recovery rebate credit for your dependent. And TurboTax, we have proactive guidance related to the events that happened last tax season. So
Well,
we'll walk you through.
tell us about some of the features. You're always adding some new features, and I guess there's even more of an emphasis this year, once again, on the live
Highlight.
functions here.
Yes. So we do have the proactive guidance on like unemployment, calling that out if you received unemployment benefits, as well as stimulus, that is called out. And then some of our features, we guide you along the way, but on every screen, if you decide you have a question, you could connect to our TurboTax Live tax experts to get your questions answered.
And is that with all of the different levels of the product or certain ones?
Yes, that's with all levels. And then new this year, you can fully hand over your taxes to a TurboTax Live tax expert as well.
What does that mean when you say fully hand over?
So last year we've had TurboTax Live for a couple of years, and that was where you could get guidance throughout the process. They could answer your questions. They can review your return, and depending on how much they review your return, they can sign it. Well, now you don't have to deal with any part of the tax return. You could just fully hand over your documents as you would if you walked in to your CPA or tax expert. You just hand over the documents and they do the taxes for you.
Really interesting. And that is built into the price, or tell us how that works.
That is a different price for that, and it depends on what your tax situation is. So we have we start with our TurboTax Free Edition online. And then for TurboTax Live, we have TurboTax Live Basic. That's if you have a simple tax return. And then simple means like 1040, a simple 1040 form. You can have some of the credits for kids, the earned income tax credit or the child tax credit. And then we have our deluxe, that's for homeowner, like would be probably for homeowners or somebody that did itemized deductions. And then we have our TurboTax Live Deluxe. And then we have our Premier product, which is for investors. And then we have our product for self-employed, which each of those we have our TurboTax Live experts.
It seems to me that you're going to see a lot more people this year who are saying, well, I worked from home almost all the time. So what does that mean for my taxes and the home office deduction? Is the IRS in for a big surprise with that this year?
That's another big question we're seeing because so many people are working from home. The one thing that people need to know is if you are an employee, unfortunately, as of tax reform, you can no longer claim unreimbursed employee expenses for home expenses. But if you're self-employed, you can claim those expenses like your home office deduction, which is a huge deduction for self-employed. One thing people need to know too, if you're self-employed and you can claim that, you have to have a dedicated space for your office. It can't be like your kitchen table where you eat and your kids do homework.
Or where the high chair is and everything else
Yes.
in the household that we're seeing so much. So all of the people who've been doing all this work from home, they don't necessarily, it sounds like most would not qualify for a home office deduction, it would seem.
No, they would not unless they were self-employed. So the best thing they could do, if their employer has some reimbursement plans of some type, they would be able to do that. Now, some states allow you to still take the unreimbursed employee deduction, but on a federal level, overall, you can't take those deductions if you're an employee.
So a lot of questions. You've answered so many already here for us. So for more information and to find out about the different levels of service that you have at TurboTax, where's the best place for people to go?
The best place is to go to turbotax.com. And also with all the coronavirus relief, we have the Coronavirus Tax Center. And we also have one specific for self-employed, letting you know relief for self-employed as well as the unemployed. And those the last two are on the TurboTax blog.
Very, very interesting. And people can do their taxes even from mobile devices, right? You've had that for a while.
Yes, you could snap a photo of your W-2 and the information automatically transports to the correct forms, and it gives you a 50% a jump start on your return. And then we also have the ability to import from financial institutions. So we work with hundreds of financial institutions, and you can automatically import your information. So if you're an investor, which is also a big trend that we saw in 2020, a lot of new investors, you're able to import your information from your 1099B. So that's one of the things with our TurboTax Premier product. We redesigned that product for the first time in 10 years last year. And there is ability to import 1,550 transactions at once, import and upload. So you're not manually entering like your stock sale transactions. And then with cryptocurrency, you're able to import over 2,000 transactions at once from cryptocurrency platforms.
Wow. So it sounds like it gets more and more complicated, but you're helping people to get through it a lot faster that way. So
Yes.
once again, the site is turbotax.com. Lisa Greene-Lewis, thank you so much for taking the time with us.
Thank you for having me.